Very busy today at the border. People park all over the place because they are scared of the entrance. You see that entrance to the duty-free is marked with cones, and also now they have, where that guy is running, now they have special, things in the floor where to prevent people from backing. So basically it's single entrance. It has those spikes, And I'm sorry for my appearance, but my my shaver broke down, and I was trucking in the States, and now I have all this weird beard, I feel like I'm 100 years old. But I promise. So this is Buffalo. So Fort Erie. On the other side of that bridge over there, you see the bridge in the distance? And so I'm gonna be unloading tomorrow, which is Saturday, as per consignee request. And so once I deliver this, I'm gonna go and buy one of those little machines, and I'm gonna do some grooming so Captain Sergei will look young once again. And you can see the machine in my mirror over there. It's still there. Two issues. Well, first of all, yeah, the weight is much lighter than what they said, and I could feel it, driving. And it was a pretty expensive trip. Like, permits were very cheap. Permits were cheap for Connecticut, New York, PA. The permits themselves were pretty cheap, but New York, of course, charged me a bunch of money for the toll, because it's very difficult to get from Rhode Island to Buffalo bypassing tolls. And because I told them I'm legal height, which I am, like 13.5, so I just jumped on I-90 and followed it all the way, from the Connecticut border. Well, it was I-84, and then I jumped on I-90 and just all the way to here. And so my actual state permit for New York was only $40, but the toll permit was, how much was it? $439.17 US. And of course I paid the actual toll using that little transponder here I have on the front. See that? The new design, because that's what they said in semi trucks. That's how you mount that transponder. Must be in the center at the bottom, like a couple of inches away from the bottom, so they can see it. But in cars, you put it where your mirror is, just a couple of inches to the left or to the right of your rear view mirror. And you see my 407 transponder, they said mount like this in a semi truck. So everybody has their own little rules. But the issue was with this machine is that they went super cheap on me with the timber, right? And I asked the guy, I said, are you sure it's gonna hold? Because I don't, for this, because it doesn't have a bucket, right, I cannot put it on the trailer, on the deck. The attachment had to sit in the back where the wheels are. And you know, like I don't have anything there that's solid to take up all this weight, you know, the boom and stuff, right? And it's a big company over there, like huge yard, and I see they have all kinds of timbers, you know, lying around everywhere. And I asked the guy, I said, can you get me like a 6-foot long 8x8 or 10x10? And he brings me back this ugly 200-year-old, probably came on a ship from England when people were migrating to, you know, United States. And on the next day, I discovered it started cracking. Well, it was already cracked, but it started moving, you know. So, and there's nothing I can do because I walked around, I was at the rest area, and the worst, and I'm looking, okay, what's gonna happen if this thing just, you know, cracks and the attachment just goes into that little metal tray that protects pretty much airlines, you know, it's very thin. So first I was gonna bend that, but the worst part is that on the passenger side, there's a bunch of stuff that sticks out over there, and it's hanging maybe 12 inches above tires. And so if that timber were to break, you know, I was just thinking like the worst scenario, worst case scenario, then all those little things would just fall on my tires. Imagine when I'm driving and all of a sudden you have this stuff, you know, touching your tires. So basically I can lose tires, you know. Basically I spent, I don't know, maybe like an hour and a half just walking around thinking, you know, how I can reinforce it. Of course I could start the machine and lift it, but again, I don't have any other timbers, right? And so I was walking around so long that finally there was a tow truck parked. Some guy was just, you know, having just a break, and he had a small 5-ton tow truck. So finally the guy came over and he says, lots of thinking is going on. He says, what's going on here? And I said, you couldn't take it any longer, right? Because I could feel people, you know, staring at me because I was there at the end of the trailer. Probably, you know, like, yeah, hour and a half. I was just thinking, okay, how do I do this? Because, you know, it's timber. Like, there's nothing in the middle, right? So it only sits on the sides. And I tried one chain, I tried another chain. But anyway, this guy came over and he says, so what's going on? So I said, this is, you see, that's what I'm dealing with here. And I emailed the freight broker and I said, call this towing company. They might help you. They said the consignee authorized us to use this towing company. I'm like, why do I need a towing company? They were thinking, well, maybe they can lift like the boom. I said, it's an excavator, right? I can lift the boom if I start the machine. All I need a good timber. You know, like, and it's not, you cannot get it at a Home Depot. You need hardwood, right? Because that boom, it's a lot of weight, you know. So anyway, I managed to get to the border because I put 2 chains. Basically, I reinforced that timber. I put a chain, basically 2 sections of chain under it. So basically now instead of sitting on the frame, the timber on top of that, it also sits on a 1/2 inch chain, you know. And then I added another chain to secure the actual boom. And so basically I got 1/2 inch chain in there, 1/3/8 chain, and I put I put that timber like my own, that one, it's like 4 inch thick. I put it in there just in case it goes down, so it's not gonna hit the tires. But anyway, it was a bit stressful because, you know, every time I would go in there, every couple of hours I would stop and check, and it was moving a little bit, you know, like going down. So I would strengthen my chains. What is this? Another oversized guy. And he parked in the middle of the road? Well, that's not really oversized. 8 feet 8 inches. And I've been here probably an hour. Hold on. Yeah, 15 minutes there and 45 minutes here. See this? Like on duty. And then I said, well, I'm sitting just off duty. You know? And basically, they came over. I showed them my PBA, as they call it. Yeah, I showed them my the permit, like I did the request online to cross the bridge, because you know, once you're over 117,000, you have to do this preliminary thing online, right, for the bridge, and then they tell you if you approved or not. And when you stop here, you cannot go, you have to wait here. And I call the supervisor of the bridge, I have his number or her number, and they send a guy with a pickup truck. The guy says, what's your PBA number? You know, like the bridge crossing permit number. I said, this is the number. Okay, how wide are you? How tall? And then he talked on the radio to the boss, and I hear the radio squawking, and the boss says, well, there's a truck broke down here in one lane. We cannot let him go. And of course, you know, I was in a rush to get here. Oh, and it took like probably a couple of hours to get customs paperwork done. You know, I got up at 6 o'clock today, and I spent the night in, I think, Pembroke, New York. There's a Petro there, exit 48 or 41 on I-90. And I got up at 6, and I did all my customs, you know, did my ACI, and I sent everything to the broker. The broker only came into the office, customs broker, at 8, and he only acknowledged my email at 9. And then finally at 10 o'clock, I see on my website that they received, the customs received the freight broker input. So it says, e-manifest is matched with trade data, which means that they received the customs broker submission. And so now it was up to customs, and so customs took another 1 hour to approve the crossing after they had all the info, right? But at least now, like I mentioned this before, but I always had lots of issues when I was an owner operator with that Premium Ventures thing, and they always had some kind of issues with the border, you know? Like you go to the border and the guy says NOF, he would write N.OF, like Nancy Opera Frank, not on file. So now I never have this, because I can see a color-coded message on my website. If it's blue, like there's blue bars, I know I cannot go. So I poke them, I send the status request, updates, I call the freight broker until I see 4 green bars, like the result, the status of my e-manifest. 4 green bars means good to go, awaiting the arrival of goods, you know? So no more NOF. I don't know what was wrong with those guys over there, but they never use this website, so which is free when you have a one truck, you know? And so finally I'm here. So now the only issue is the broken truck in the middle of the bridge somewhere there. And so now I don't know. I checked in before 12. I don't know what they will charge me. Will they charge me the morning rate? Because you know, once I cross, I have to pay the fee in there. In the morning, it's $100 Canadian. After 12 o'clock, I think it's like 260. So it's like much more money, you know. But I was here at like 11:30. But time now is 12:37. And I still don't see the guy in the pickup truck. And you see, like, all the trucks are dry-van. The most popular 5-axle combo in here. And that's Buffalo. People are walking around like there's no tomorrow. You Birds are singing, flowers are blooming, but the sky looks pretty nasty. It's probably gonna rain. No, that's a typical Canadian 5-axle flatbed. 5-axle flatbed, 3-axle truck. I always wonder how they, how they avoid overloading the truck when they have a regular 3-axle truck, but they have so many axles on the trailer. Anyway, the broker asked me to give him a quote to take this machine. So I'm going to Vaughan or Concord, Ontario, which is 100 miles. Like, I'm gonna shut down at the pilot there in Fort Erie, and then get up early because they want me there like at 7, but it's 100 miles. So if I start driving at 5, I should be okay. I prefer starting early as opposed to driving late, And now they have a cool Indian restaurant in there, like Denny's. I think they went broke. There was Denny's at the Flying J in Fort Erie. Now there's no Denny's, but there's a nice Indian family. Like, the wife is the cook, the husband is the server, and the kid, 3-year-old kid, sits at the cash register and watches games. Yeah, watches cartoons on the computer. Like a little girl and a hi, and then her dad comes out and he mans the register and he's the server, and it's a bit slow, but it's like very interesting food, very unusual. So I'm gonna shut down there, and so get up early and keep driving. Oh yeah, and so sorry, I got carried away. I'm thinking about food. I'm hungry, and again, I apologize for my appearance. I'm not Muslim, I swear. My family actually it's Russian Christians, and my mother would always become very grave, like if we're walking somewhere and she sees a cross with only one bar, she became very serious and she says, "Сережка, это не наш крест." Sergei, that's not our cross, because our cross, quote unquote, is the one with one horizontal bar and then one bar like this, so it has 2 bars. So that's kind of like old Christian, but she's a bit religious. I'm not, because I grew up under communism. But anyway, what I started to say is that the freight broker asked me for a quote to take this machine to Alberta. I said, Alberta? I got 8 axles, right? I'm just showing you like what else is around here. So I have 8 axles, but as soon as I cross the line between Ontario and Manitoba, the next province in the west of Ontario, I lose 2 axles. Because Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta, BC, they don't recognize my pusher axle, and they don't recognize 4-axle trailers. So your trailer can only have 3 axles, but you can lift the 4th axle, and it has to be chained, of course, and then it's okay. And some people might say, so what do you do when you have a super heavy load, when you really need 4 axles in the back? Well, then they wanted to use a stinger or booster in the back, like 3+1 or 2+2. And if you need a 4-axle truck, they wanted to have a Jeep, single axle Jeep or tandem Jeep. Like they're very retarded, retarded rules. because honestly I don't understand how having a pusher axle is bad for the pavement, you know. Like if it's okay pretty much everywhere in US except California, I think. Maybe not. I'm not an expert in California, but anyway, but anywhere in US, even, you know, they have this bridge formula, right? So my pusher axle is fine. The only problem is Quebec in Canada, they don't like that I only have 2 tires in there, right? But everywhere else it's fine. But Western Canada, it's like a different planet. They have these, you know, notions from 40s and 50s probably, I don't know. And so they wanted to have Jeeps and Stingers. But anyway, I told the broker, I said, that's another reason why I want to stop at the Pilot. They have a scale in there. And even though I showed you that homemade ticket, right? Where the guy gave me this thing over here. I never, honest to God, I never saw a scale ticket in tons, you know? 62.97 ton. First of all, it should be tons, not ton. But I don't trust this thing, you know? And that's why I want to stop at the Pilot. I want to pay their extremely high fee of $18 Canadian. Should have done it in the States, because it was in US it's only $11 US, which is cheaper than 18 Canadian. But I forgot. So now I'm gonna scale here, because I suspect I'm about probably a bit higher than that, but not 140 like I thought I was. So anyway, oh, here's a classic Freightliner. Those things still run. Wow. All right, made it to Canada. Yeah, you see what's going on in there? Oh boy. But still holding. Everything is holding. Everything sits on the chain, so it's all secure. And then I have that timber I mentioned before. If it goes down, that's the part I was talking about, because if I did not do this, then if it falls, it'll hit my tires. So now I prevented that. Anyway, so I made it across the border, paid $130 Canadian, and just scaled. So I'm gonna go inside the truck stop to scale. And I parked next to this guy over here. Check this out. So this looks like it's an extendable trailer, 35 ton, I'm guessing. Because you see that part, that means it extends, right? It has some pretty massive, I don't know, 15 feet tall. But look at the truck. Look at my truck with 3 axles, right? That's 254 wheelbase, which is from the steer axle to the middle between axle 3 and 4. Now check out this guy. Is it me or is it much longer? He also has a pusher axle, but I think it's his truck is much longer than mine. You know? And the same Kenworth, except his is T800. Yeah, the frame. I think it's bigger. Anyway, this is yeah, it's a K-Whopper T800. Potentially my next truck, we'll see. Well, the order is placed. I'm getting some lamb with rice and some samosas. All right, so we have this. You know, you always get these pictures for free, right? And here's my scale ticket. So actually that query, they were right. The guy said 63 tons. As you can see, this is 126.7, right? And my weight is 60,000. So this machine weighs 66,720 pounds. I think I might be going to Alberta, because this can be done on 6 axles. All right, thanks for watching. Unloading tomorrow.